Hey guys, Brian O'Day, the Executive Director of Praetorium Project, also one of the pastors of Pillar Church of Jacksonville, and I'm joined today by Trace Martinez, one of the pastors of Pillar Oceanside. How you doing today, Trace?
Doing very well. Thank you, sir.
Good stuff. All right, so our update this month is Pillar Oceanside. Tell us a little bit about the history of Pillar Oceanside and your involvement with it.
Sure. So September, we celebrated 8 years as a church. So been closing in on a decade, which is crazy.
Yeah. Just fun fact, I believe you're the third oldest church in the Praetorian Project at
Yeah,
8 years. So, yeah.
yeah. So in terms of history and my involvement with it, I was an active duty Marine. By God's grace and in very much involvement, had me to cross paths with Clinton Colby. Long story short, they pitched the idea of being out here in Southern California. They had a plan to bring another church planter alongside, and those things ended up happening with my family and the Ransom family, and we joined together to start this work September, 8 years ago, and since then, we've sent out the Ransom family to plant Pillar Church of Okinawa. And then during the pandemic of 2020, we sent out the Carters to plant Pillar Church of San Diego. So very much in the throes of multiplication in terms of church planting, and God has been gracious through all of that, and there have certainly been a lot of challenges and opportunities to experience God's grace through all that. But it's been by far the most rewarding, challenging, and deepest amount of growth for my family that we've ever experienced in our church life. So it's been good, man.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so you transitioned straight from you were planting the church. John Ransom was a full-time guy, but you were planting the church as one of the pastoral partners while you're still on active duty, retired from active duty, and then stepped right into full-time pastoring. And so really cool. A lot of our pastors are veterans. A few are retired. I think you're one of the few that like actually retired after a full 20 years and then transitioned in. But yeah, cool story, especially this month as we think about Veterans Day. And one thing I say to guys is, active duty guys, you're either going to die young or you're going to have a second career. So think about what that second career might be, and maybe God's calling you to use your second career in pastoral ministry. So it's been cool to be a part of that transition with you, and I've been going through a similar one as well. So very cool, and exciting to see Oceanside multiply with Okinawa and San Diego. So what are you guys in Oceanside specifically? What are you guys celebrating these days?
We are celebrating generally, I would say, an influx in growth, both numerically and spiritually.
Yeah.
We've been praying for quite some time for God to bring people in general, but also in more specific terms, leaders, ready leaders, capable leaders, and He's been doing just that. Like, we have seen a steady increase of newer believers, people who are new to the military, new to the area, that are just looking for a church. And then we've got probably the most that we've had at one time, Pillar Church members of a former Pillar Church at a previous duty station, who are now here equipped and ready to get into ministry. And so we have several people that we have in our pipeline for both the deacon role and the elder role. And to be honest, it's been a long time since we've had both of those pipelines sort of going. And so that's a huge answer to prayer. We're definitely celebrating that. We are we're excited about the idea of having people coming already committed to the project, that have experienced it other places and are literally walking in the door going, where do I serve? How do I get involved? And that's just so encouraging, very refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting. When we set out to do this, and it started Marine Corps, you're outside of Camp Pendleton, which is a huge Marine Corps base. And we had this idea that that would happen as we kind of moved members back and forth between our churches. It would really help grow our churches as because we're constantly losing people and sending people off, especially when you do a local church plant, you're sending people off. And so, really, just backfilling some of those members and leadership. And so, when that can come from elsewhere in the family, man, it just really helps do things. So it's been cool to see that happening in the Marine Corps, and we look forward to seeing that happen with the other services as well as we branch out. Yeah, it's good. How can we be praying for you?
We had a leaders meeting recently, and we talked about just the idea of where we've been over the last 2 years plus coming out of COVID, and realizing we don't want to remain unchanged or even fall back into maybe some patterns of behavior in terms of church life, that we recognized as perhaps limiting our ability to be the kind of light in the darkness disciple makers that we want to be. And so a prayer focus for us would be that each of us really takes seriously the role of being a disciple maker in our homes, in our communities, in our workplaces. And we have some training in places for people to do that. We have opportunities for people to go even out among the lost and engage lost people. And so we want to, again, just really take it seriously and have people have a desire to grow in that capacity, whatever that looks like. I know that a lot of people wouldn't define themselves or describe themselves as evangelistic in terms of being an evangelist and going out and sharing their faith, but just practical ways that people can do that in very real and not so scary ways. And so that's our desire right now, is to really develop that culture here and by God's grace see much fruit and fruit that lasts.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, obviously with COVID and especially COVID in California, kind of giving a big opportunity to kind of reset, rethink things. But really, even just the churn of always having members coming in and out of the church, we just constantly have to be rethinking things and refocusing on what's most important. And that's a good one. Making disciples. Both new converts and then also raising up the new converts and the younger Christians that are in our midst. So, man,
Exactly.
great thing to be praying for. Good deal. Well, thanks for catching up with us for a few minutes, Trace. If you've watched this video to this point, I encourage you to stop now. And before you move on with the rest of your day, take a moment to pray for Pillar Church of Oceanside, Trace Martinez, his wife, Christy, and the congregation out there. Thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate it.